Imagine being the only person on your street who believes a storm is coming when the sky is still perfectly blue. That's where Noah's story really begins. Not with rain, not with animals, but with a quiet decision to trust God. He trusted God when almost no one else would. Long before the flood, the world was loud, busy, and broken. People went on with their lives, building, trading, celebrating. But kindness had grown rare, violence had become normal, and hearts had slowly turned cold. In the middle of all of that lived one ordinary man named Noah. He wasn't famous, powerful, or a leader. But the Bible says something simple and beautiful about him. Noah walked with God. That doesn't mean he lived a perfect life. It means he paid attention. It means he listened. When God spoke, Noah took it seriously. One day, God told Noah something that would change his entire life. A great flood was coming, not next year. Soon. God saw what the world had become, and he was deeply grieved. But in the middle of that sorrow, God made a promise. He would save Noah and his family. Then God gave Noah an instruction that must have sounded completely impossible. Build an ark, not a small boat, not a fishing raft, a massive wooden vessel large enough to carry animals of every kind. Here's the part we sometimes rush past. There had never been a flood like this before. No examples, no blueprints online. No one else doing anything even close. Just a man, a voice from God, and a project that would take years. Can you imagine how people must have looked at him? A giant structure rising out of dry land, no ocean nearby, no dark clouds in the sky. Day after day, Noah and his sons cut wood, lifted beams, measured boards, and people talked. They always do. Some laughed, some mocked, some shook their heads and walked away. But Noah kept building. Not because it made sense to everyone else, but because it made sense to God. That's one of the quiet lessons in this story. Faith doesn't always look heroic in the moment. Sometimes it looks slow, sweaty, lonely, and misunderstood. As the ark slowly took shape, something even stranger began to happen. Animals started arriving, not chased, not trapped. They came. Pairs, groups, large and small. Creatures Noah had never touched before. Animals his family had only seen from a distance. It was as if creation itself knew. Something was coming. And then, the day arrived. God told Noah it was time. Noah, his wife, his sons, and their wives stepped into the ark. The animals followed, and the door was shut. Not by Noah, by God. For a moment, everything probably felt normal, quiet, still. And then the rain began. Not a light rain, not a passing storm. The kind of rain that doesn't stop. Water poured from the sky, water surged from the ground. Streams became rivers, rivers became roaring waves. The world people had trusted in disappeared beneath the flood. Inside the ark, the sounds must have been overwhelming. Rain pounding the roof, animals moving and calling, the wood creaking under the pressure of the rising waters. Noah and his family could not see what was happening outside, but they could feel it. The ark lifted, slowly, then fully. They were no longer standing on solid ground. They were floating. For 40 days and 40 nights the rain fell, but the flood did not end there. Water covered the land for months. The ark drifted, carried only by God's hand. Think about what that must have felt like. No map, no control, no destination in sight, just waiting. Sometimes faith looks like obedience. Other times, it looks like endurance. Inside that ark were real people. Not stained glass heroes. A family with fears, questions, tired muscles, long nights, and still. God kept them safe. Eventually the rain stopped. The sound that had filled the sky for weeks faded into silence. But the water remained. So Noah waited. Days passed. Then more days. Finally, the ark came to rest on dry land. But even then, Noah didn't rush out. He sent out a raven, then a dove. The first time, the dove returned. There was nowhere to land. Later he sent the dove again. This time, it came back with something small, a fresh olive leaf, not a forest, not a field, just a leaf. But that was enough. It was proof. Life was returning. Hope was growing. After many more days, God spoke again. It was time to come out. Can you imagine that moment? The door opening, fresh air pouring in, sunlight touching their faces. After months inside the ark, Noah and his family stepped onto a changed world. Quiet, clean, empty. The animals moved out into the land. The earth was new again. And the first thing Noah did was not build a house. He built an altar, not out of fear, out of gratitude. A simple thank you to the God who had carried them through. And then God spoke words that still matter today. He promised never again to destroy the earth with a flood. And he placed a sign in the sky. A rainbow, not just something beautiful, something meaningful. A reminder that even after judgment, God still chooses mercy. But Noah's story doesn't end with celebration alone. After the flood, life slowly returned to normal. Families grew, work continued, days passed. Noah planted a vineyard. He lived long enough to see a new generation grow up. He lived on a renewed earth. The man who once built an ark in a world that laughed at him, now lived in a world that existed because he obeyed. And here's where this story becomes quietly personal. Noah didn't save the world, God did. Noah simply trusted him. He showed up. He stayed faithful when it would have been easier to quit. He kept building, even when no rain had fallen yet. Sometimes we read stories like this and think the miracle is the flood, or the animals, or the size of the ark. But the real miracle may be a man who kept listening to God when no one else seemed to care. You may never be asked to build a boat, but you will be asked to trust God in small, unseen ways, to forgive when it's hard, to stay honest when it costs you, to keep doing what is right, even when no one is clapping. And like Noah, you may not see the results right away. But obedience always builds something. Sometimes it builds safety. Sometimes it builds peace. Sometimes it builds a future you will never fully see. Noah reminds us that God notices quiet faith. He sees the work done in secret, the prayers whispered when no one is watching, the courage it takes to live differently. Long before the rain ever fell, the real miracle had already begun. It began with one heart willing to trust God. If this story encouraged you today, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. Let me know what Bible story you'd love to hear next.